There's a reason you can't stop thinking about them, but it has nothing to do with them. You know the feeling, the way your chest tightens when they walk into a room, how their laugh seems to rewire something deep inside you, the way you construct entire futures with someone you barely know, lying awake at 3 in the morning, replaying a single conversation like it holds the secret to your existence. You've probably told yourself you're too intense, too irrational, that something must be wrong with you to feel this consumed by attraction. You've tried to logic your way out of it, shame your way through it, or distract yourself from it entirely. But what if I told you that every person you've ever desired was actually a mirror showing you the face of your own abandoned self? That the heat you feel isn't really about them at all, but about something buried inside you that's demanding to be seen. Your psyche doesn't speak in logic, it speaks in symbols, and sexual desire is one of its loudest languages. When you rush to gratify the impulse without listening to its message, you discharge the energy, but miss the wisdom. When you learn to decode desire as symbolic communication, everything changes. This isn't about suppression, and it isn't about indulgence. This is about reading desire the way dreams are read, as encrypted wisdom from the depths of who you actually are. You've felt it before. How a stranger's confidence can crack something open inside you. How someone's vulnerability can make you feel paradoxically safe and terrified at once. How a casual touch can feel like destiny wrapping its hands around your throat. You're not broken. You're coded. And the code is speaking right now in every attraction that feels too strong, every fantasy that returns, uninvited, every pull toward someone that makes no logical sense. Here's what most people miss. Your psyche has two fundamental parts that are constantly in conversation. There's the persona, the adaptive self you present to the world, the version that gets approval, keeps the job, fits, and pleases the family. There's nothing wrong with having one. The problem is living inside it as if it were all you are. Then there's the shadow, everything you've exiled to survive. Your wildness, your power, your vulnerability, your truth. The parts of you that didn't fit the script, so you buried them deep and tried to forget they existed. Sexual desire is what happens when the shadow starts knocking on the door of your carefully constructed identity. You feel pulled toward what seems outside you, but the heat is generated by what's struggling to be born within you. Think of your persona as a meticulously curated museum where everything is labeled controlled appropriate. Now imagine there's a wild garden behind a locked door, overgrown, chaotic, vibrantly alive. For years, you've pretended that door doesn't exist, but your body remembers, your psyche remembers. And when someone walks past who carries even a hint of what's behind that door, you don't just notice them. You become obsessed. This is why attraction sometimes feels mythic, larger than life, impossibly significant. Because archetypally, it is significant. Just not in the way you think. If this is beginning to shift something inside you, hit that like button and subscribe. This work reaches the people who need it most when you help amplify it. Let's continue. The persona isn't fake. Let's be clear about that. It's adaptive intelligence. You built it to navigate a world that required you to be palatable, productive, acceptable. As a child, you learned quickly which parts of yourself were celebrated and which were punished. You learned to emphasize the former and bury the latter. Maybe you learned that expressing anger meant rejection, so you became endlessly accommodating. Maybe you learned that showing need meant abandonment, so you became fiercely independent. Maybe you learned that being powerful meant being alone, so you made yourself small. These weren't conscious decisions. They were survival strategies. And they worked. The persona got you through childhood, through school, through the early formations of adult life. But somewhere along the way, the strategy became a prison. You've built what looks like a successful life that doesn't feel like yours. The exhaustion sets in, the numbness, the vague sense that you're living someone else's script. You look in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back. This is when the shadow begins its revolt. Not through dramatic breakdown, but through persistent signals. Boredom, restlessness, inexplicable attractions, intrusive fantasies. The sudden intensity of desire for someone who represents everything your persona isn't allowed to be. If you identify as responsible, desire provokes your irresponsibility. If you identify as rational, it provokes your abandon. If you identify as independent, it provokes your need. If you identify as proper, it provokes your wildness. Pay attention to what disturbs you most about your attractions. That's where the gold is buried. The shadow isn't your dark side, it's your disowned side. And here's what changes everything. The shadow is 90% pure gold. It contains not only the qualities you were taught to reject, selfishness, chaos, rage, but also the qualities you were taught were too much. Your power, your sensuality, your creativity, your audacity. Sexual desire activates the shadow because sexuality is inherently transgressive. It doesn't obey social scripts. It doesn't care about your image. Eros demands authenticity, while the persona demands performance. The collision creates heat. And that heat isn't just biological arousal. It's the friction between who you actually are and who you're pretending to be. You're not attracted to them because they're extraordinary. You're attracted because they're living a part of you that you buried to be acceptable. This brings us to projection, one of the most misunderstood psychological mechanisms. Within you exist inner figures, archetypes of the ideal masculine and ideal feminine. Not as gender stereotypes, but as principles. Assertion and receptivity, clarity and mystery, structure and flow. When these inner figures remain unconscious, you cast them onto another person and then chase them in the outer world. You glimpse a quality in someone, their groundedness, their wildness, their depth, their lightness, and your psyche recognizes it as something you need to develop. But instead of integrating it internally, you attempt to possess it externally through relationship. This is why attraction can feel like fate, because at the archetypal level, something profound is happening. You're encountering your own potential dressed in another person's body. Your psyche is saying, this quality, this energy, this way of being, you need to learn this. But the lesson isn't found by possessing the person. It's found by becoming what they represent. The rush you feel, that sense of destiny, that feeling of finally being complete, it's all real. But it's pointing inward, not outward. They're the trigger, not the answer. The mirror, not the face. Common archetypes that appear in desire. The sovereign representing authority and self-mastery. When someone carries this energy, you feel simultaneously drawn and intimidated. You might find yourself wanting to submit or compete, but what's really happening is your own sovereignty demanding recognition. The wild one represents instinct and untamed freedom. Their apparent ease with breaking rules, with living outside the lines, triggers something in you that's been caged too long. The mystic represents depth and hidden knowing, that quality of being comfortable in the darkness, unafraid of complexity. The warrior represents courage and boundaries, the ability to say no cleanly to protect what matters. The lover represents sensuality and devoted presence, the capacity to be fully here, fully felt, fully alive in the body. Notice which archetype activates the strongest response. That's not random. It's revealing what your psyche is preparing to integrate next. When you look at the person you're drawn to, ask yourself what quality radiates from them that I wish I had. Name it clearly. Write it down. Feel where in your body that quality is absent or suppressed. That's not your romantic destiny. That's your developmental assignment. The universe isn't sending you a soulmate. It's sending you a curriculum. Here's where it gets more complex. Sometimes what we call desire is actually an old wound wearing an attractive mask. Not all desire points toward growth. Some points toward repetition. Your attractions are partially shaped by early relational blueprints laid down before you could even speak. The psyche has this peculiar habit. It attempts to complete unfinished business through current relationships. If you grew up with a father who was physically present but emotionally distant, you might find yourself magnetically drawn to people who withhold approval. The pattern isn't masochism. It's an unconscious attempt at resolution. Your psyche keeps saying, maybe this time, if I'm good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, they'll finally see me. It's your father you're trying to reach using a substitute body. The mother wound shows up differently. It manifests as attraction to relationships that feel consuming, where boundaries blur, where you lose yourself trying to be what they need. Or the opposite attraction to people who need rescuing, where you can finally be the perfect caregiver you were always trying to be. Every time you shapeshift to keep their interest, you're repeating the original betrayal of yourself. Attachment wounding leaves its own signature. If your early bonds were inconsistent, you might be drawn to inconsistency now because it matches your internal state. The nervous system seeks what's familiar, not what's healthy. If closeness felt dangerous, you might be attracted to intensity, followed by distance, close enough to feel alive, far enough to feel safe. It's an impossible equation that keeps you perpetually hungry. If your early environment was chaotic, chaos might feel like home, and stability might feel like boredom. Peace registers as emptiness. Drama registers as aliveness. Your body mistakes activation for attraction. Pay attention to the moment after intimacy. Do you feel closer, or do you feel the urge to flee? Do you feel seen, or do you feel exposed? Do you feel grateful, or do you feel resentful? These post-connection feelings reveal your attachment blueprint more clearly than the initial attraction ever could. This is the repetition compulsion. You don't repeat patterns because you're self-destructive. You repeat them seeking mastery. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Look at your pattern. Do you consistently choose emotionally unavailable people? Partners who need fixing, intense beginnings that fade into empty middles. People who replicate painful family dynamics. The moment of collapse comes when you realize this isn't love. It's an audition for a role I've played my whole life, and I'm tired of performing. The shame that follows can be devastating. The recognition that you've been re-traumatizing yourself. The grief of lost time, repeated patterns, ignored red flags. But here's the compassionate reframe. Your psyche wasn't betraying you. It was trying to heal you the only way it knew how. By giving you another chance to respond differently. Another opportunity to choose yourself this time. Now you know. And knowing is where healing begins. Let's talk about complexes. A complex is an emotionally charged cluster of memories and reactions organized around a theme. Its autonomous meaning, it can hijack your consciousness without permission. The rescue complex is attracted to brokenness because being needed proves your worth. You feel most alive when someone is falling apart, most valuable when you're fixing something. But the moment they stabilize, the attraction fades. The abandonment complex is hyper-vigilant to any sign of withdrawal, turning attraction into anxiety. You scan their face for evidence they're leaving. You interpret silence as rejection. You need constant reassurance, but no amount ever satisfies because the wound sits beneath the relationship. The specialness complex is only aroused by the unattainable because ordinary intimacy feels like defeat. If they want you back, they become suddenly boring. The chase is the point. Conquest proves you're extraordinary, but possession reveals you're just human, like everyone else. When desire spikes, pause and ask yourself, what does having this person prove about me? That I'm desirable, that I'm powerful, that I'm good, that I exist. The answer reveals which complex is driving, and once you can name it, something crucial shifts. The moment you can name the complex, you're no longer possessed by it. You've created space between stimulus and response. That space is where freedom lives. There's a crucial distinction to understand shadow hunger versus soul hunger. Shadow hunger is compulsive, urgent, edged with desperation. It narrows your attention into tunnel vision. It requires possession, consumption, conquest, and it leaves you feeling more fragmented afterward. Soul hunger is strong but grounded, magnetic but not manic. It expands your awareness rather than narrowing it. It invites meeting and mutual becoming, and it leaves you feeling more integrated, not less. Your body knows the difference. Shadow hunger makes your chest tighten, your breathing shallow, your mind race with the impulse to act immediately. Soul hunger makes your chest open, your breathing deepen, your mind clear with the desire to be fully present. Next time desire surges, don't move. Breathe. Feel where it lives in your body. Does it contract you or expand you? That tells you what you're actually dealing with. There's another layer here. Often what we call chemistry is actually inner child recognition. You're attracted to someone whose wounds match yours, or whose defenses remind you of early caregivers. The inner child believes this time it will be different. This time they'll stay. This time they'll see me. This time they'll choose me. This time they'll heal me. But here's the tender truth. Your adult self cannot heal through relationship what your child self needed from parents. However, your adult self can heal by directly parenting that inner child. When overwhelming attraction hits, ask, how old do I feel right now? Often the answer is 7 or 12 or 15, a specific age when something crucial was denied. Speak to that younger self. I see you. I know what you needed. I'm here now. We don't need them to save us anymore. The moment you stop using others to parent your inner child, you become available for actual adult intimacy. And that's when desire transforms from need into gift. You cannot decode shadow material from a dysregulated nervous system. Dysregulation reads everything as either threat or salvation. Integration requires a middle ground. Try this 3-minute practice when desire spikes. Breathe 4, count in 6, count out 5 times. Ground, feel your feet on the floor, your weight in the chair. Orient, name 5 things you can see. Resource, recall 1 moment when you felt capable. Then, set your intention. I am here to listen, not to act impulsively. From this regulated state, use the 3-layer decode. First sensation. Where exactly do you feel the desire in your body? What's the temperature, the texture? Don't interpret yet, just map it precisely. Second, the story. What narrative immediately appears? If this happens, then what this means. I'm what? Without this, I'll what? Write it down without censoring the drama. Third, the symbol. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Close your eyes and ask, if this desire could speak, what would it say it truly wants? Wait for the image word, or knowing that emerges. It's often surprisingly different from the story. Here's an example. Sensation, heat in the chest, pressure behind the eyes. Story, if I don't pursue this, I'll miss my chance at passion. Symbol, of voice saying, remember you're alive. Translation. This isn't about the person. It's about your deadened daily existence needing vitality. This practice rewires your relationship to desire. You stop being at its mercy and start being its interpreter. Active imagination is dialogue with unconscious content. It's different from fantasy, which is passive, or visualization, which you direct. It's a genuine encounter with autonomous aspects of your psyche. This practice requires courage because you're inviting something you don't control to speak. In a regulated state, invite your desire to personify itself. If your desire were a being, what would it look like? Don't control the image. Let it reveal itself. It might appear as a figure, an animal, a force, a landscape. Sometimes it's startling. Sometimes it's exactly what you expected. Trust what comes. Then dialogue with it. Ask, what do you want from me? What do you want for me? What happens if I keep ignoring you? What happens if I only indulge you? Listen without censoring or correcting. Write down exactly what you hear, even if it seems strange or contradictory. The answers will surprise you. They'll be wiser than your conscious mind, because they're coming from a part of you that doesn't have to maintain your persona. Finally, negotiate. Don't blindly obey, but don't ignore either. Ask what would be a conscious way to honor this. What can I give you that doesn't require me to betray myself or harm another? This is the art of integration, finding the middle path between repression and indulgence. Common revelation's desire for an unavailable person might say, I want you to stop playing it safe. Desire for chaos might say, I want you to feel something again. Desire for rescue might say, I want you to develop your own strength. Active imagination turns desire from opponent into ally. Here's a powerful ritual. Ask yourself, what quality am I attracted to in them that I've forbidden in myself? Name it. Wildness, authority, softness, audacity, mystery. Feel where you feel the prohibition in your body. Ask, who told me I couldn't be this? Now, write a letter from your future integrated self to your current self, giving explicit permission. Dear one, you have my permission to be powerful without apologizing. You have my permission to be soft without being taken advantage of. You have my permission to be wild without being reckless. Then choose one tiny behavior that enacts this quality today. If it's sovereignty, say no to something without explaining. Not with aggression, but with quiet authority. Notice how it feels to let your no be complete. If it's wildness, dance for 3 minutes with the door closed. Let your body move without choreography, without judgment. If it's vulnerability, share one true thing you usually hide. Not a confession designed to get sympathy, but a simple truth you've been carrying alone. If it's sensuality, eat one meal with full presence and pleasure. Taste every bite. Feel every texture. Let yourself have the experience without distraction or guilt. These small acts are not symbolic gestures. They're actual retrievals of exiled energy. Each time you embody the quality instead of projecting it, you complete a circuit that's been broken. Your nervous system learns, I can be this and still be safe. I can be this and still belong. I can be this and still be me. Finally, speak this integration statement, I am reclaiming this quality. It has been waiting inside me. I no longer need to chase it in another. I am becoming it. Over time, the external person loses their magnetic charge because you're no longer projecting an orphaned part of yourself onto them. This doesn't mean you lose attraction. It means attraction becomes cleaner, more mutual, less desperate. For desire rooted in early wounds, try this alchemy process. Identify the pattern. I keep choosing people who abandon. Me, need me, won't commit, control me. Name the wound. This is abandonment wound, speaking or enmeshment wound, or invisibility wound. Honor the strategy. My psyche is trying to master this by repeating it. No shame, just recognition. Then interrupt the pattern. Ask, what would I choose if I weren't trying to resolve my childhood? What qualities would I seek if I were already healed? Make a new vow. I will not use romance to resolve old trauma. I will do that work directly. Then choose partnership from wholeness. Here's something crucial about sublimation. It's not about redirecting desire away from sexuality. It's recognizing that sexual energy is life force energy and giving it multiple worthy channels. When that energy has only one narrow outlet, it becomes obsessive. When it has many channels, it becomes generative. When sexual desire is strong, but acting on it would be unconscious. Ask what wants to be created right now, what wants to be expressed, what wants to be birthed. The same energy that draws you toward merger can be channeled toward making. Write the truth you've been avoiding. Not a journal entry about the person, but the bigger truth about your life that you've been circling. Make art that scares you, something that reveals rather than conceals. Have the conversation you've postponed, the one where you stop managing someone else's feelings and start honoring your own. Build something tangible. Give your hands work that matters. Move your body with full permission. Not exercise as punishment, but movement as prayer. Speak your needs clearly, in your existing relationships, in your work, in your daily life. Practice asking for what you actually want. You're not suppressing desire. You're completing its journey. The energy that wanted to merge with another becomes the energy that integrates the self. And that is the kind of power that transforms lives. So what changes after integration? Before, desire felt like possession. You felt chosen by attraction rather than choosing. The other person held your missing pieces. Rejection felt like annihilation. Satisfaction was temporary. After integration, desire feels like information. You feel magnetic pull and clear discernment simultaneously. The other person reflects available qualities, not missing pieces. Rejection is data, not verdict. And satisfaction deepens because it's sourced internally first. Your presence changes. People sense you're not using them to complete yourself. Paradoxically, this makes you more attractive, because wholeness is magnetic in ways neediness never is. When you stop chasing what you think you lack, you start emanating what you've been cultivating. And that changes everything. Speak this vow aloud: I will not betray myself to obtain desire. I will not use desire to abandon my knowing. I will treat every attraction as a teacher. I will decode before I act. I will integrate before I merge. I will become what I seek. My desire is not my enemy, it is my compass. My shadow is not my shame, it is my medicine. My sexuality is not my weakness, it is my power. I am whole. I am becoming. I am awake. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You feel attraction arise, and instead of panic or obsession, you feel curiosity. You breathe. You notice. You decode. You see clearly what quality is being activated. You ask, am I already developing this, or am I projecting it? If projecting, you retrieve it. You give yourself permission. You take one action that proves you're becoming it. If already developing, the attraction becomes celebration rather than neediness. You meet another whole person as a whole person. There's desire, yes, but it's clean. It doesn't require you to abandon your knowing. It doesn't demand you betray your boundaries. It doesn't ask you to become smaller so they can feel bigger. Your relationships become sites of mutual becoming instead of mutual rescue. You stop dimming yourself to be acceptable. You stop performing to be chosen. You stop shape-shifting to maintain interest. You start showing up as you actually are, with your needs stated clearly, your boundaries held kindly, your desire expressed honestly. And the people who resonate with that version, those are your people. Not because they complete you, but because they meet you. Not because they fix you, but because they see you. Not because they save you, but because they choose you, and you choose them from wholeness, rather than wound. The attraction you feel toward others becomes cleaner, more honest, more grounded. You can appreciate beauty without needing to possess it. You can feel desire without being possessed by it. You can notice what draws you without letting it hijack your life, and the attraction you feel toward your own life that becomes the foundation of everything else. You wake up interested in your own becoming, curious about what wants to emerge through you, devoted to the practice of integration. Here's the ultimate paradox: sexual desire will never stop arising. This teaching doesn't eliminate it. It transforms your relationship to it. You'll still feel the pull, the heat, the magnetic draw. But now you'll know it's not about them. It never was. It's about you remembering who you've always been beneath the masks. Every person you've ever desired was a messenger from your own depths, saying, "Come home, come alive, come whole." The journey isn't about conquering desire or indulging it. It's about learning to read it, honor it, and allow it to guide you back to yourself. That's the work. That's the gift. That's the transformation. And now you have the map. If this shifted something in, you share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about which practice you're going to try first, and subscribe for more depth, because this work doesn't end, it deepens. Your desire is speaking. Are you ready to listen?